Hello students, today we will start with the concept of resistance in series and parallel. In various electric gadgets, we often use resistors in various combinations. Like we can use resistors in series or in parallel. Now we see how Ohm's law can be applied to combination of resistors. There are two methods of joining the resistors together. The very first method is resistance in series and the next method is resistance in parallel. As you can see clearly in the picture, resistance in series where you see R1, R2, R3 all in one line. Excuse me. And in parallel you will see R1, R2, R3 in parallel. They are in parallel lines with each other. So we will study in detail resistance in series and in resistance in parallel in these slides. We start with resistance in series. In resistance in series, you can see R1, R2 and R3 are connected in one series. And you also will see the individual voltage applied across every resistor. Now here for R1 we have voltage V1, for R2 we have voltage V2 and for R3 we have voltage V3. You just see in the figure. Now V is a combination of all the three voltages, that is V1 plus V2 plus V3. Now same amount of current will flow through all the resistors, that is why I is constant. V is combination of V1, V2 and V3, that is V is V1 plus V2 plus V3, that is first equation. Now according to Ohm's law, V is equal to IR. So let us apply this for the first resistor. So V1 equal to IR1, V2 equal to IR2, V3 equal to IR3. Similarly, we can apply these values we can substitute in the first equation. So after substitution we get IR is equal to IR1 plus IR2 plus IR3. Take I common from the right hand side. You will get IR is equal to I into bracket R1 plus R2 plus R3. You can cancel I on both the sides. So you get R is equal to R1 plus R2 plus R3. From this we can conclude that when several resistors are joined in series, the resistance of the combination RS, resistance in series, RS stands for resistance in series, equals the sum of their individual resistances. What are individual resistances? Individual means value of each resistance, that is R1, R2 and R3, and is thus greater than the individual resistance. So R1 will be R1 plus R2 plus R3 will be greater than just R1. R1, R2 plus R3 will be greater than only R2. So it is a sum total of all the three resistances put together. Now when the current is passing from R1 and coming out from R3, when the resistance, the total resistance it will experience will be the sum of all the three. That is, more resistance is applied when the combination of resistors is in series. Resistance in parallel. For resistance in parallel, we are going to study how resistance is applied in parallel. Now, if you see all the three resistance, they are one below the other. R1 parallel to R2 parallel to R3, and if you see a single voltage applied across all the three resistors, therefore V is constant here. I is a combination of I1, I2, I3. That is, each resistor will carry different amount of current. So current passing through first resistor will be I1, current passing through second resistor will be I2, and current passing through third resistor will be I3. So I will be the combination of I1 plus I2 plus I3. This is equation 1. Now V equals to IR. Hence I is equal to V upon R. This is according to Ohm's law. So this Ohm's law we apply to every individual current. So I1 is equal to V upon R1, I2 is equal to V upon R2, and I3 is equal to V upon R3. Substituting value for equation 2 from equation 2 in equation 1. So when you substitute, you get V upon R is equal to V upon R1 plus V upon R2 plus V upon R3. Taking V common from RHS and cancellation, we get. Now V is in the numerator, so you can take it common, and this numerator V, left hand side numerator V and right hand side numerator V, you can cancel. So you remain with 1 upon R is equal to 1 upon R1 plus 1 upon R2 plus 1 upon R3. Now, thus, we may conclude that the reciprocals of equivalent resistance of a group of resistors joined in parallel is equal to the sum of the reciprocals of individual resistors. You see, the equivalent resistor means the resistance we will get equivalent after all these are put in parallel, that will be 1 upon R is equal to reciprocal. So this is also reciprocal, 1 upon R is also reciprocal, and the remaining also are reciprocal. So 1 upon R1 plus 1 upon R2 plus 1 upon R3. Okay, this is the derivation of resistance in parallel, and the previous one was a derivation for resistance in series. Both you have to study well along with the figure. Advantages of using parallel combination over series combination, like how parallel is better than series, or you also can say these are disadvantages of using series combination. Okay, so I have drawn one parallel over here, parallel combination over here. The parallel combination you can see over here in this figure. We have seen that in series circuit the current is constant throughout the electric circuit. Thus, it is obviously impracticable to connect an electric bulb and an electric heater in series because they need currents of widely different values to operate properly. For example, now supposing all are in series, one line, and you cannot connect a bulb and an electric heater together because bulb may consume less energy whereas heater consumes more energy, but the current flowing when they are put in series is the same. So it is not possible to put all the appliances together like this in one line. Another major disadvantage of a series circuit is that when one component fails, the circuit is broken and none of the components work. So since they all are in one line, if one breaks, immediately the full circuit will break and all the other combinations, all the other appliances will stop working. So this is another disadvantage. Next, the total resistance in parallel circuit. The total resistance in a parallel circuit is decreased. This is helpful practically, particularly when each gadget has different resistance and requires different current to operate properly. For this you see this figure. For example, across resistance R1 I can have a bulb, across R2 I can have a mixer grinder, across R3 we can have a refrigerator. So whatever amount of current they require, I can pass through each one of them. And even if one breaks, suppose R1 breaks from here, still R2 and R3 will keep running. It will not affect R2 and R3. So this is the advantage of using parallel. These are the three advantages of using parallel combination. That is why parallel combination is mostly preferred in electric household circuits. Heating effect of electric current. Now generally students, you must have observed that when we are using so many appliances in the house, whether it is a television or a mobile or a fan or a computer or a washing machine or any other appliance, you would see that after some time they heat up. So this heat which is generated, this is called as heating effect of electric current. Now in some appliances this heat is used practically. For example, in electric irons, in electric heaters, geysers, this heat which is produced because of electric current, this is used practically. We know that a battery or a cell is a source of electrical energy. The chemical reaction within the cell generates the potential difference between its two terminals that sets the electrons in motion to flow the current through a resistor or a system of resistors connected to the battery. Now we are actually going to see why the appliance gets heated up. So this is the reason. Like we know that battery is or a cell is a source of electrical energy. So there is some reaction which is taking place inside the cell that generates potential difference. We know there is a potential difference, positive terminal, negative terminal, and there is flow of electrons. Electrons are in motion. So when they are moving, they emit some energy, and this energy comes out in the form of heat. A part of the source energy is maintaining the current may be consumed into useful work, like in rotating the blades of electric fans. So this some energy is used in doing some mechanical work, but the entire energy is not used up. Rest of the source energy may be expended in heat to raise the temperature of the gadget. So this happens. You see, when the regulators also, the previously the old regulators were there, in that the regulators would heat up automatically. Even if you see the televisions, as if you touch the backside of the television, they get heated up. Okay, now some energy of it is gone into doing some mechanical work for some appliances, not for others, but and the remaining energy is used, or it is coming out in the form of heat. It raises the temperature of the gadget. We often observe this in our everyday life. For example, an electric fan becomes warm if used continuously for longer time, and so many examples etc are there for this. The source energy continue continually get dissipated entirely in the form of heat. This is known as heating effect of electric current. This effect is utilized in devices such as electric heaters, electric fans, etc. So whatever heat is emitted, it is actually used in practical in many of the devices. Okay, just to make you understand this heating effect of electric current, go on to this link to see that small video. Joule's law of heating. Now, from the heating effect of electric current, it gives rise to Joule's law of heating. How do we calculate this heat which is given out by the objects? Heating effect of electric current gives rise to Joule's law of heating. Consider a current I flowing through a resistor of resistance R. Now you know I stands for current, R stands for resistance. Potential difference across it would be capital V, and let T be the time during which the charge flows across it. Okay, now we all know that the work done in moving the charge Q through a potential difference V is VQ. If you remember, in 2 days back we had I had told you about potential difference. So where V is equal to W upon Q, that is potential difference is equal to work done upon charge. So from this only you take W on one side, so W is equal to V into Q. Therefore, the source must supply energy equal to VQ in time t. So this is the energy. Work done equal to energy. Last year you have studied in force and laws of motion, work done, work and energy also. Work done is equal to energy. It's a form of energy. So this is the energy which is supplied to it in time t. Hence, the power input to the circuit by the source is P is equal to VQ upon T. Last year you have studied that P is equal to W upon T. So W is VQ. So P is equal to VQ upon T. Or the energy supplied to the circuit by the source in time T is P into T. So energy only if you say VQ is equal to P into T. T we shift on the other side. So energy is P into T. That is VIT. And what is P? P is V into I. So H is equal to VIT. Now H here is actually the energy, or you can say the work done. So H is equal to VIT. Now applying Ohm's law to above equation, we get H is equal to I square RT. Now you see V is removed. What is V? V is equal to IR. So instead of V, we write IR. So here already one I is there. So here we get I into I square RT. So this is nothing but the expression for Joule's law. So this is known as Joule's law of heating. The law implies that heat produced in resistor is directly proportional to the square of current. See, it is directly proportional to square of current for a given resistance. Then secondly, it is directly proportional to resistance. See, directly proportional to resistance, it is proportional to I square. Then it is proportional to R for a given current, and directly proportional to time t for which the current flows through it. This is a very important definition and very important expression. So kindly study this well, and this is a derivation to find out the expression H is equal to I square RT. Write it down properly and study it well.